I want to ask the questions that makes them think differently about their lives and just allows them to be so much more self-aware. So basically, all my life, for about 10 years, I struggled with my relationship with alcohol, and partying and drugs and everything else that came with it. And on the surface, it looks really glamorous, but deep down, I was really struggling because I had created an identity that I couldn't live up to anymore. And the Scotty Special, who was my alter ego, was this character that I had created to be liked and to be accepted by everybody else. But deep down, it wasn't really me. And the idea of actually changing that and becoming my true self was really scary for me, right? But there's this one time in January, just before Christmas in 2019, that I got escorted out of a big work event in front of my social PR team, in front of my biggest client. And this was not the worst thing that had ever happened to me, but it was the first time my behavior and my relationship to alcohol had gotten in the way of my true potential. And for me, success and reaching my potential meant so much to me. So this was a massive reality check for me, where I realized that I had to do something I'd never done before. I used to listen to Denzel Washington over and over again. To achieve something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. And I knew deep down that was the time that I had to go 12 months sober. And when I did, my whole life changed. So self-limiting beliefs is something that I struggled with for the majority of my life. And I didn't even realize it was happening, right? Because a self-limiting belief is a belief system or an idea or a concept that's kind of instilled into you at a very early age. It can be from a parent, it can be from someone you looked up to, it can be from your first relationship. And if you're not careful and aware, you can run an autopilot for the rest of your life, thinking that you are a certain type of way just because one person said it, right? And this was me for the majority of my teens and my 20s. But when I got into my early 30s and I started this self-development journey, I started to become really aware of the way I was talking to myself and the belief systems that were kind of navigating my life. And once you become aware, you can then start to identify what those belief systems are that are holding you back and start to rewire them and create new ones. So for example, I used to think that I was boring without a drink. I would tell myself, Scott, you're so boring without a drink. You need to drink to be the life and soul and everything else. And I started to create a positive story where I didn't need drink and I was naturally confident and I was the life and soul of any room I walked into without any drugs or alcohol. And it's just when you create these new positive belief systems for yourself, everything becomes so much easier because you're not putting yourself in a box. And I think my biggest challenge to anybody is practice self-awareness. This is something that I talk about so much in my speeches and in all my content. Self-awareness is a gift. Once you understand what's going on, you can start to do something about it. So I always say the answers that we're looking for is often in the silence that we're avoiding. And this rang true for me in so many different ways because all my life I was scared of spending time on my own. I always had to be around people. I always had to be busy. I always had to be on social media. And what I realized is that when I created silence in my life, little pockets of silence, whether that be driving in my car with no radio, whether it be going on a dog walk with no podcast, I started to get the answers I was looking for. And I started to get back in touch with little Scott who had been lost for years. And sometimes when people say to me, Scott, how do you figure out your purpose or where you're going in life? A lot of the time I say the answers we're looking for are not out there. They're often in our past or in our childhood. Like, what did you love doing as a kid? What did little you love doing? And I think the more that we get back in touch with ourselves, create silence in our lives. And I'm reading a book in a minute called Stillness is Key by Ryan Holiday. And this book was one of the first books I read on my journey, and I'm reading it again because it landed so well with me. And it's basically saying that silence is actually the answer to a lot of the questions we're looking for. And once you get back in touch with yourself, you can then start to create a life that gets you excited and build a routine that's going to help you get there. But if you are literally distracted constantly and overstimulated, you're just going to be end up following the crowds and not really knowing who you are at your core. So I think with my public speeches, I really want to be the guy that makes people feel energized and also encourages people to be reflective. I want to ask the questions that makes them think differently about their lives and just allows them to be so much more self-aware, because I truly believe that we are in control of our destinies and our potential, but it's up to us to make the right decisions and listen to what's going on and to be aware of self-limiting beliefs, any blockages that are holding us back, and then also give people the motivation and the tools in order to create their dream life, because I am doing it slowly but surely for myself, and I'm so passionate about sharing everything that I've done in my journey with anyone who wants to listen. And I just have this urge to help people achieve their potential. I see it in so many people. I'm like, how can you not see what you're capable of? And sometimes all we need is one person to believe in us, and we can go to the next level in life. That happened for me, and hopefully I can be that person for other people, who just makes them realize that they are capable of so much more. And it doesn't have to be hard work. It doesn't have to be until burnout point. It can be enjoyable, but you just need the right tools.